participating in the public forum to learn more about the final candidates for the position of president for Paradise Valley Community College. The public forum is being held both in person and through a live video stream. I am Dr. Amy Diaz, president of Gateway Community College, and serving as tri-chair for Paradise Valley Community College's Presidential Search Committee, along with my colleagues Herman Gonzalez and Dr. David Ruby. I will be serving as your host for this public forum. I would now like to introduce Dr. Georgetta Kelly, Chief Human Resources Officer for Maricopa Community Colleges. We will be serving as co-facilitators for this session.
Good afternoon. First, I would like to acknowledge and thank any governing board members who are virtually attending this session, and introduce any governing board members who may be in the audience. At this forum, governing board members in their role as private citizens are welcome to ask the candidate questions and make comments like other attendees. However, they are not allowed under Arizona open meeting law to discuss with other board members matters raised at the forum or to take any district action as governing board members. This forum, along with the Academic and Student Affairs, Direct Reports, VP Council Chairs, Staff Representation, Faculty Executive Council, Student Group Sessions, a session with the District's President's Council and senior staff, and a formal interview with Dr. Stephen R. Gonzalez, Chancellor of Maricopa Community Colleges, are the final steps in this search process for this college president position. I would like to now review the format and ground rules of this public forum. This forum is scheduled for 40 minutes today. The finalists will be given up to 7 minutes to introduce and explain their background that has prepared them for the role of president at Paradise Valley Community College. The finalists will receive a 1-minute warning and then a stop sign when necessary. I will then request questions from the audience. Please stand in line at the microphone should you wish to ask a question. If you are attending via live stream, you will be invited to submit questions online to xsearch forum at domel.maricopa.edu. That's xsearch, EXSEARCH, forum, FORUM, at domel, DOMAIL, .maricopa, MARICOPA.edu. We will rotate one question from the in-person attendees and one question from the live stream participants who are attending virtually. In instances where we may receive multiple questions from one attendee, we will do our best to honor one question per attendee with the intention of rotating back to the previously unread questions as time permits. We are video streaming the public forum, so the finalists may be limited to a certain area of the room. The link is available on the public forum's webpage at www.maricopa, MARICOPA.edu/PVCC-search, SEARCH. As time runs out, I will invite the finalists to take up to 5 minutes for any closing remarks. Our timekeeper for this session is sitting front and center and will signal the finalists to help stay on track. The finalists will receive a 1-minute warning and then a stop sign when necessary. I request that you ask respectful questions and behave in a respectful and courteous manner at all times. Observers and audience members may come and go. Please do so quietly. Please silence your cell phones. The purpose of the public forum is to provide you with an opportunity to get to know the finalists and to solicit your input. The finalist bio and feedback form are also available at www.maricopa, MARICOPA.edu PVCC-search, SEARCH. Please be sure to complete the online feedback form. The form is compatible with mobile devices. The feedback information provided in the form is confidential and sent to the Chancellor for his review and decision-making. The links to view the form and provide feedback will close at 5 p.m. on May 7, 2024.
Thank you for attending this public forum. At this time, I invite Dr. Barnes-Tilley to the podium. The timekeeper may begin our time clock. Dr. Barnes-Tilley, you are allowed up to 7 minutes to introduce yourself and explain the background that has prepared you for the role of president at Paradise Valley Community College.
Thank you so much for being here and giving me the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, get to know Paradise Valley a little bit better, and actually share some of my experiences. So I just appreciate this opportunity. Thank you, and thank you for being here today and being here virtually. So thanks. I'm excited to be here, and I say that because when I started in community college education 29 years ago, my college president would start every session with, and I'm excited to be here. And I kept thinking, is he really excited to be here? And I realized, though, after 29 years we are, because any time that I can get up and I can come to a community college and do the work we do to serve our students and to help them reach their goals, that makes me excited and that makes me proud. So as I introduce myself this afternoon, I'm forgetting which time we're on right now, I want to share what I'm most proud of in my background that led me to my interest in what I want to bring to Paradise Valley if given the opportunity. So I grew up in Texas. I know that's hard to imagine with my voice, but I did. I'm a native Texan. I was born in Houston, but I grew up in Brenham, Texas, and if you've ever had Bluebell ice cream, that's home of Bluebell ice cream. And I just say that and everybody smiles, and the rest doesn't matter what I say after that because we're all happy. So I am proud of that experience because it led me to a community college. So when I was in high school in my senior year, both my parents had some health issues, and I decided to enroll in our local community college, Glenn College. And it was because of an experience in a history class that I realized that this was the path for me. I want to spend the rest of my life teaching, at least I thought at the time. And so I loved that experience, and I can say I'm a very proud community college graduate. I knew that at that point when I finished, I wanted to come back to a community college and do that work to inspire students to reach their goals. After going to UT Austin, I had the opportunity to come back to Glenn College, where I spent 22 years at the school. I spent 22 of those years teaching, and overlapping that, I spent about 14 years in administrative work as an associate dean or assistant dean and also a division chair. And I'm very proud of those 22 years of teaching because it gives me a background and an understanding of the role of faculty in what we do as a college. I'm also very proud. I spent 18 of those years as the advisor to the Student Government Association, so I went on many trips with many young students, but I'm very proud of that time because it gives me an understanding of the importance of student engagement, and as I will use your words, educating the whole person, and student engagement is a part of that, so I'm very proud of that. After leaving Glenn College, my son graduated from high school, and we thought, why did it change? I came to Collin College, which was 7 years ago, and I've had the opportunity to work in a large, growing area right outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and served as assistant dean, and now I serve as campus provost. And so I'm also very proud of the 21 years I've been able to be a leader and support a team and serve a team and serve students and faculty and staff in doing what we do in community college education. I'm also During all of this time, I'm a proud community leader. I have spent most of my life doing community work, whether it's serving on a city council. I took an opportunity to do that at one point in my life. I also ran a nonprofit for 15 years, and that started because my mother made me go volunteer when I was 12 years old, and I hated it, and I rolled my eyes. And she instilled with me in that love of community service. And so I'm very proud of that, and I've done that recently as being part of a chamber board, a health chairman's council with one of our hospitals, also part of a leadership group, and in my community I serve on a community development foundation that works on issues for quality of life in our area. So I'm very proud of that. But the one thing I'm proud of the most, and why I want to be here and why I want this position is I'm very proud of the relationships. I'm proud of the team and how we've addressed challenges in all of the roles. I love what I've experienced this morning so far. It's been wonderful getting to know the faculty and the staff and the leadership. And it's just an exciting time for Paradise Valley. And I'm excited to be able to jump in and help see what's been done, what we can continue to do to make it better. I will say through all of this, the one thing right now that's very similar to the Paradise Valley role is my role as campus provost. I oversee operations for our largest campus at Collin College, and we serve about 7,500 students. We have served up to 13,000 students. We dropped in enrollment 42%, so I'm familiar with enrollment drop and trying to turn that around. And so I'm very excited about bringing the experiences I've had, bringing that to Paradise Valley, and let's see if we can tackle those issues. So that's a little bit about me, but I think letting you know what I'm proud of gives you an understanding of who I am and why I genuinely love what we do as community college educators, faculty, staff, to serve our students. It's really exciting, students who otherwise may have not had that opportunity. So thank you for letting me be here today.
At this time, we invite questions from audience members. Please stand in line at the microphone should you wish to ask a question. If you're attending via live stream, you may submit questions to xsearchforum@domail.maricopa.edu. We will do our best to rotate through all questions, honoring at least one question posed by each attendee. In instances where we may receive multiple questions from one attendee, we will make every effort to return to any unasked questions once we have given equal time to other attendees also asking a question. So again, for those of you on live stream, please send your questions to xsearch, S-E-A-R-C-H, forum, F-O-R-U-M, @domail.maricopa, maricopa.edu. Go ahead with the first question.
Hi, welcome. My name is Gretchen LeBron-Weed, and I work in the library here. My question is, what kind of culture would you like to cultivate here at PVCC, and how will you hold us as employees, students, accountable for making that happen?
So I have had an opportunity, I will say, in the last two positions I've served to deal with some real challenges on a campus, and I took that as an approach to really work on a culture shift. When we had a lot of long-standing leaders on the campus who retired kind of all at the same time, and a lot of new leadership coming in, and I was a dean at the time, coming into a dean role. And then when the enrollment drops 42%, but you're expected to drop 20%, that's a huge gap, and that does create some concern, some what's going to happen next, and what are you going to do to fix it, and so there were a lot of challenges that we've been handed, or I was handed in the role as provost. So in each role that I step into, it's important to, first, I'm a relational leader, so I like to build those relationships. I read the book, The Speed of Trust. I think I've said this 4 times this morning, but The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey years ago, and it resonated with me because I think The first thing you can do in any leadership role is build trusting relationships with your faculty and your staff and your students. So that's the first thing. Personally, I have found that emphasizing your core values is really key in what you do. Sometimes going back to the basics is really key. And I'm going to tell you a story of what I do to create a culture of following our core values, but also caring and hard work. My kids went to an elementary school, both of them, and the principal's motto was be nice and work hard. And sometimes it's the most elementary things that we think about that really resonate with what we do in life. Let's just work hard at what we do. Let's work hard to serve our students, and let's be kind to each other. And so I started as provost specifically when we were dealing with the significant challenges on the campus. I have cards. There'd be nice work hard cards. And I encouraged our staff, anytime you see somebody that's doing something kind or working hard at their job or following our core values, write them a note. Because I challenge all of you to think about the time you opened your mail and you opened a note from somebody, a handwritten note, and how it made you feel. It makes me feel good. I have a folder that I keep over the years when I feel like, oh my gosh, am I doing enough? And then I'm like, I am okay. I am okay. And I'll read the notes and cry, and I'm okay. I'm doing a good job. But that's what I want to do. That's important to me. And when I find those blue little notes on in offices or on windows or wherever around the campus, that makes me feel like we're doing the right thing and we're following our core values. And so I hold people accountable to that, in that if you've got a core value for dignity or respect or innovation, let's all be working on that. And if we're not, let's have a conversation of why. And unfortunately, those things happen. But it's important to me to spread that, and I think it starts with just spreading something that's really simple. For me, it was be nice and work hard, and that just sort of resonates through the campus and building the trusting relationships. And so that's kind of what I think about. And I hold people accountable for their actions too. I think that's important. We all need to follow our core values and be kind to each other. For sure.
Hi, my name is Hannah Laurie. I'm a student here who's going to be graduating.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. What are your feelings about the arts, such as theater, dance, and physical arts, such as ceramics and painting, and how do you plan on supporting the arts as far as the future of PVCC is concerned?
That's great. So I have to laugh at this, and I can almost hear my dean laughing at me when I say this. So my background is political science. I may have left that out. So teaching government my whole life, you can imagine what side of the brain I use. And so when I started as a provost, we have a theater, we have a beautiful art gallery, we have a robust music program and dance. There's such value to what that brings to a campus. We're very traditional. We're very kind of a traditional small liberal arts kind of college on the Plano campus. And I've learned so much about how different that is, but how much value it brings. And one of the things that our campus faced in particular with the fine arts is a declining enrollment. And I'm assuming that is pretty standard across the country, because you want to make sure that you're getting students what they need, and sometimes things like the arts get cut. But there's value to it. And so what our team actually did as an outreach opportunity to show the value is, you don't have to major in music, you don't have to major in art, you don't have to major in theater to be part of the program. So they did some really unique outreach to the ISDs, inviting them to performances, to art gallery shows, to really connect with those that have a love for it, to show you can come to the college, you don't have to be the music major, but you can be part of choir, you can be part of our jazz ensemble. And so we feel strongly, and I've always felt strongly about how that being such a good part of what you offer, because it does bring you that value and that diversity of capturing a little bit of everything. I mean, you don't want to just be a workforce-driven institution unless that's all that you have to serve. But we really had a lot to offer on the liberal arts side and the fine arts side. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes-Tilley. We're going to go ahead and do 2 questions from online. Your first question is, hello, Maricopa Community Colleges are proud to offer bachelor's degrees for our community. Specifically, Paradise Valley is wrapping up our first year of offering the Bachelor's of Arts in Elementary and Special Education. As you are aware, launching and growing new programs requires intentional commitments of support for financial and personal resources. How are you prepared to support the bachelor's degree programs at Paradise Valley, especially in light of recent budget reductions? Thank you.
Like to. Okay. I was excited to read about the bachelor's program. In Texas, we also were given the opportunity when our legislature about 5 years ago allowed community colleges to offer up to 5 bachelor's programs. Right now, our college is at 4. They're related to workforce specifically, and that's the only reason we were allowed to do them, is if there was a gap in the workforce needs in your area. So, and interestingly enough, early childhood education is one of the ones that we are exploring because we have a high demand and a very low supply, and it's going to be an important one that we're probably going to have to explore for the college. I'm always committed when you start new programs, you've got to give it time. We know that we should, in all decisions we make about bringing programs to the college, do our research. The data should support what we're doing. The community should support it. Industry should support it. Whatever that we're offering the program for, but we've got to give that time. And so I'm dedicated to giving it time. And let me tell you a story about biotechnology at our campus. We were on the verge when I became dean 5 years ago of sunsetting that program. It was going nowhere. It wasn't meeting the state standards for completion. And it just did not have the momentum, and we thought, why keep throwing money at a very expensive program? And so we challenged the faculty, we challenged the discipline lead, and we said, go out, you've got to do something because you're, I hate to say it, but you're kind of the next one on the chopping block. We can't continue to support an expensive program. They went out and they connected with the community more so than ever, and sometimes it's just lighting a fire a little bit. And they actually partnered with Dallas College on a $600,000 grant recently. They were able to turn around completion. There's an increase of, they had an increase of 3 completion. Here we go. Wait, okay, I think that's coming back. Am I hitting something? Am I doing, oh. All right. There we go. Okay, I'm going to switch it out. All right. That one's off. Yep. Okay. That one. Okay. Got it. All right. Okay. I'm just going to let y'all.
Check, check. Okay.
I can adjust. My friend told me, he said, now be funny, but don't be Mary funny. And I was like, what's Mary funny? And then I realized, yes, there is a point when you don't. So getting back to the biotechnology, though, and what we're really excited about, we were able to increase completion in that program 300% in 1 year. And that took dedication to what we kept hearing from the community, from our advisory board, and from the faculty is there's a demand, we just have to figure out how to tap into it. So that's a great question, and I will say that there is a point when you have to recognize where sunsetting may be the answer, but you can't do it at the beginning. And I've had the same experience with small classes when you're trying to get classes to increase, especially we did this a lot during the pandemic. You have to have some grace, and you have to focus on that. When there's budgetary cuts, I understand that provides another set of challenges, but we should never get into offering a program that we can't say we're going to commit to if there's a demand either from what we're seeing in data, from industry demand, and so we need to put enough behind it, see it through, and then if we find that it's not producing, okay, we may have to make some tough decisions, but we can't do it right away, because then that's not committing to why we started.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes-Tilley. Our second question is, could you please articulate your experiences in partnering with four-year institutions in offering workforce-related programming?
Okay. So we just got into this a little bit more with workforce. We have not had, academic transfer is super easy. And with our four-year institutions, but workforce is a little bit more challenging for us. We have, and this is dealing with biotechnology, so I'll use that as an example. Recently, we are in works with one of our kind of our 5 big institutions in the DFW area that's growing rapidly and working out an articulation agreement with biotechnology. So that's very new and exciting for us, but we were able to finally kind of get that across the finish line. One of the things I laugh about when we talk about workforce is some of the universities didn't like that community colleges can start offering bachelor's degrees, so I think they feel a little bit threatened, but we're trying to stay on the workforce side so we don't feel like we're encroaching in what they do from the academic transfer side. But I would say that biotechnology was one. We did do a few years ago, and it hasn't really taken off like we'd hoped, but we have a social work program that's more geared on the workforce side, and we did work with one of our partnering institutions, Texas A&M Commerce, to try to do an articulation there. We still haven't seen the growth in that program, so we've made a little bit of headway, but I'd be really excited to see how Arizona is structured differently, to see how much more we can do with our university partners to articulate some of those workforce programs, because those have been a challenge for us in Texas.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes-Tilley. We can go ahead and go to the floor now at this time.
Hi, Dr. Barnes-Tilley. Nice to meet you. Better stand back just a little bit. I have an all-business question for you. I personally lead the reaffirmation of accreditation effort, and as you are aware, we have a accreditation visit coming up in October. Day one, what is your first question around this particular topic?
Yeah. So having been through 4 reaccreditation visits in all of my years, and I was actually part of the leadership team for a couple, and actually we're getting ready for ours at the college too, so I wrapped up about a year ago writing one of the pieces, the faculty piece actually. I think the first question is, for any leader, is, are there any concerns that you have that I need to be aware of where we may not meet the accrediting standards? As I understood this morning, got a lot of good feedback about that, because I actually was curious, knowing the new president will step in and get ready for the visit. But I think that's the first thing. Is there anything that we should be concerned about? And is there anything that we're going to get hit with that I need to be aware of and I can prepare going into the visit? So that would be my first concern. And I've lived through that, unfortunately, at a college, and simply we had ignored something that we shouldn't have ignored for quite a few years. And that's why I'm always dedicated in the between reaffirmations is you should always be doing the things that are required of you, and you shouldn't have to scramble when you're getting ready for your reaffirmation document and your visit, because you're trying to make sense of what you did. You should always stay on track to make sure you're meeting those standards throughout your work, and then doing preparing for the visit and preparing the document should be relatively easy for you. A lot of work, but relatively easy.
Thank you. Do we have another question on the floor?
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Bankhead, and I am residential faculty here at PVCC. I have one question for you. Rising cost of living and college going greatly impacts some students, making it hard for them to focus on their academics and studying. How would you execute additional or add to existing initiatives that we have to meet student basic needs, including housing, childcare, and food insecurity?
Well, I was glad to see we're tackling this issue a little bit, even though we're in a wealthy area at Collin College. Our campus is the most diverse, and we have the most diversity with socioeconomic status. So sometimes we're lumped into, you have plenty of money and you have students that are coming to you that have plenty, and actually that's not the case. One of the things we partner with the North Texas Food Bank, and because of the success on our campus and the recognition for it on other campuses, we're actually spreading that to some other campuses. And I'm mentioning that because I've lived in a world with two different colleges where the need can be preventative. The need can be so much that students won't come to us if we don't provide that. So I'm excited to hear about the food pantry. I would like to learn a little bit more about what you're doing regarding childcare. One of the successes we've had at the college that I am now is we have a child development lab school. So we have a program where students can work in our lab school and go through that program. But we also reserve spots for our low-income students so that they can have a spot in that child development lab school for their children. Because we don't have enough space, we actually sought out a grant and got about a $30,000 grant recently, and we're working on specifically holding spots at different child care centers around the area so that our students that need that can have child care. So I'd really be interested to exploring what you're doing and what's working. I always start any challenge with this is I want to see what the data is telling us, and let's really start to drill down on what the needs are. Because anytime you can tackle that need, you're going to have an opportunity to get those students. I'm going to give one more example. We were drilling down in the data a couple of years ago dealing with our enrollment drop, and we realized that we were men of color were the lowest with retention rates. And so when you really drill down, we had to figure out why. And we realized that some of our scheduling didn't lend itself to our population of students in general, but especially this population. So we shifted to a different type of term and started some shortened terms. And because of some family obligations and things like that, we realized that we needed to create a different type of schedule for those students that were struggling. And so you start with the data, start where it tells you, I'd like to know what you're doing and how we can, how we work to improve, because that's the way you get students here, is helping them with their basic needs so that they can focus on their education.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes-Tilley. We'll have 2 more questions online. What about PVCC attracts you or makes you want to work here?
Okay. So I've worked at 2 places in my career. I get invested, I'll just say. That's kind of part of who I am. Is my husband jokes because I'm like, I go all in at an institution. I went all in at Blinn College. I went all in at Collin College. But I also recognize there's a point when, as a leader, I feel like I want to do more. And that's what happened, is I love my experience at both colleges, but I will tell you first, we've watched Maricopa from afar because we know what a great institution, a great district this is. And so when I saw the position and I started reading about all the great things that are happening at your college, at Paradise Valley, I also saw some of the challenges, and I thought, this is exciting. My daughter is graduating from high school, so it's kind of a perfect time to shift at this point in my career, and it just aligned really nicely when I started thinking about how great the institution is, but what the challenges you face, the stability you need in leadership. And I got excited about bringing my skill set and my experience in community college education and seeing if I can help turn it around. I'm going to say Arizona is not a bad state if you're going to have to move out of the great state of Texas. Yes, we're very proud of our state, and we know that. But it is nice, and that's important to me too. So I really had to look for, I invest in the community where I live, and I wanted to look for a place that I felt like could be home. And this felt like the right place. And I will tell you, after all morning meeting with people, this is a good place. It's a great place, and you love what you do. And just as you're interviewing me, I'm trying to get a feel for if I'm the right person for you, if I'm afforded this opportunity, and you love what you do here, and I would be excited to be part of that. So it's just it seems like a good fit at this time in my career.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes-Tilley. Next question is, there is a growth movement to ban DEI in higher education in the country. What is your experience on DEI at the community college level? How will you ensure that DEI is implemented at PVCC in a way that addresses the concerns of critics of DEI while still achieving the goals of DEI?
So have y'all paid attention to Texas? Because we've done a number on this one. Wow. You know, when I think about DEI in general, I will say that I don't recall a time in my 29 years where I didn't value every person and their background and what they offer the institution, whether it's a student, faculty, or staff. However, I also learned through training that sometimes we can say we value it, but our actions don't show that value. In Texas, we're challenged because our legislature, in its wisdom, and I use that term loosely, we've dismantled all of the offices, and unfortunately, people have lost their jobs. Our college in particular, though, and I think the vision of our president, we didn't create an office, we created a council. And through that council, we've brought a lot of activities, events to the college that we had not done before to really recognize and appreciate the diversity that we have. I will tell you that there won't ever be a time that I would not value someone based on their background and understanding we should all have a seat at the table in decision making. We should all be able to give that feedback. And I've done that. I think in particular, because again, what we're limited to do in Texas, I think showing my commitment to all of the diversity on campuses, supporting all of our students where they are, supporting our multicultural events, that's been really important to me, and encouraging our campus to do the same. We've dealt with recently, and I'll just say this on the side, a pro-Palestinian group, not at the level of what we're seeing across the country, but and also recognizing and supporting our Jewish students, faculty, and staff, and that's been a little tense, but we've worked through it. So I'm anxious to see, because of the experience I've had in Texas and because what we're limited in doing, I'm anxious to see how you all are tackling DEI. But again, I think it goes back to, I can't imagine a situation that I'd want to be in where we don't value everybody's perspective and where they're coming from. And I'm going to commit to that. And I'm actually excited, if given the opportunity, to be in an area where we can work collaboratively on those initiatives, where I've been in a place where we've had to really be cautious in how we've handled DEI, unfortunately, because our funding from the state comes upwards of about 33% of our budget, which is very different. And so we've had to be very careful because our governor, let's just say sometimes he will threaten cuts. And so we've had to be cautious. But I'm anxious to see what you're doing here and excited about that opportunity with DEI.
Thank you. We can go ahead and turn it over to the floor, please.
Good afternoon, Christina Hunley with Athletics. Doctor, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on offering athletics at the two-year college level, as well as any experience you've had supporting athletics at your colleges.
Well, let me start with another proud moment. Our women's basketball team at Collin College went to the national championship for 2 years in a row. Yay! And I could not have been more excited than to support those student athletes. I mean, it's incredible, and especially at a time when we're really, it's like we've had this renewed focus on women athletes, and these girls are amazing. I mean, it almost brings tears to my eyes to watch what they've done. And little Mackenzie Buss, I'm going to call her out. She is a little fireball, and she's about 5'4", and she will tear it up on the court. Okay, getting back to the question, though. I have always, in my 29 years, worked at colleges with athletics, and there is such value to those programs. Yes, we know they're not money makers. Yes, we know that they can be costly. But the value you bring to a student athlete, when a lot of times, and when I worked at Blinn College, these young kids would have not otherwise had an opportunity to go to college if it wasn't for that scholarship to play sports. And if nothing else, we give them 2 years, and that's 2 more years than they would have had. And what we've learned about our student athletes also is they're more successful because they're connected to something that's meaningful. And so I've always challenged everyone at campuses that I'm at or colleges that I'm at to really connect with your students. Research says once you connect with them, they're going to be successful, and nothing is connected more than our student athletes to that team and that campus. I love athletics. We have done some real creative things at Collin College. We only have 2 sports. We had all sorts. We had basketball and baseball and football and tennis and all that at Blinn College, but we have 2 sports at Collin. And I've really encouraged our faculty and staff to get out and support our student athletes, because there's also something about said when you're an athlete and you look up in the stands and you see faculty and staff there supporting you. So I'm at the games. I'm even at the tennis matches, and I'm going to tell you, I still can't figure out tennis. I sit there and I'm like, I don't, okay. And the tennis players laugh at me. They're like, Dr. Tilley, we're going to help you figure this out one day. And I'm like, yes, you are. But it brings such value and excitement to a campus, and I love it. And I'm just going to say I've never been on a campus without athletics. And there's value add, even though I understand there's always a challenge from a budgetary standpoint because it can be expensive. But it's a value add that I love, and I'm committed to.
Good afternoon, Dr. Tilley. Wow, big echo. My name is Susan Bonnell. I'm the adjunct faculty coordinator, and I'm also an adjunct in psychology. Can you tell us how you, in the past, how you have engaged adjuncts and how you do engage adjuncts?
It's a great question. And for those of us on the academic side of the house, we've all been there. And I think that's what's great about what we do is recognizing, especially with your numbers, because I understand there's a lot more adjuncts than there are full-timers with the balance, if I read the numbers correctly. One of the things that I'm the most excited about with adjuncts at our college, when I started as an associate dean, we had a disconnect. And I've always been of the opinion when I had faculty meetings at Blinn College is everybody was invited. We had adjuncts, we had full-time, didn't matter. We were all there, we were hearing the same message, we were all part of it. When I got to Collin College, it was a little bit more of a disconnect between the two. And so we started an adjunct faculty development program and specifically focused on 3 important things. Mentoring, because we did not have a robust mentoring program, so every adjunct faculty that was hired was assigned a full-time mentor. We also focused on training to prepare yourself for a job interview. One of the disconnects was you never hire adjuncts, you never hire, you always hire externally for full-time. And so we intentionally did this program, and I will say that now 60% of our full-time hires come from the adjunct pool. And that was 2 years ago statistic. I don't know what it is today, but I know it's increased. So we did a training program so that if you have a goal to be a full-timer, we can help you with some support. We also have an adjunct faculty once a year conference specifically to those needs, because there are some that just want to be adjunct, and we want to support those too. The third part of the development program, though, was funding for professional development, and that's always a disconnect with adjuncts as well. We were supporting our full-timers going to conferences and developing, but we didn't have funding for our adjuncts, so we were able to put some away in our individual dean budgets and actually support some of those efforts. And so I'm proud of that because it's taken off. And we are supporting our adjuncts more. I'm not saying that we're perfect. I'm not saying we've gotten there, but we're getting there. One of the other things that I do as As a provost is I meet with our faculty council reps, and included in that is our adjunct faculty representative. So I meet monthly with that team to make sure that I'm hearing both sides. Yeah, both full-timers and adjunct and their concerns and needs.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes-Tilley. We have about 5 minutes left. One more question online is, how do you view the importance of treating employees with fairness and equity? As a CEO, what actions would you take if you encountered a situation where an employee was not being fairly treated?
Okay. There's two things about me that I'd like you to know when it comes to people being fairly treated is I'm going to pour myself into supporting individuals, but I'll pour into you, support you in what you do, but I'm also going to hold you accountable for your actions. I have a situation where as a dean and then as a provost, I poured myself into trying to help a faculty member salvage his career. Spent a lot of time working through it, but at the end of the day, and it goes back to if somebody's not being treated fairly, what do? It went from not following policies and procedures over a long period of time and being, going through our progressive discipline to then going into the classroom and the treatment of students. And that's when I felt like it kind of crossed, well, it didn't kind of, it crossed the line. And that's when we stepped in and decided that with all the efforts we put in, the administration did decide not to renew a contract as a result. So there is a point where I'm going to pour into you, but if somebody's either not treated fairly or not treating someone fairly, we're going to use our processes to address it. At the end of the day, it goes back to what I mentioned about following our core values and being kind to each other. That's important to me. You can be frustrated, you can get aggravated about decisions, but treating people with respect, treating people with dignity, is always going to be something that you're going to hear me talk about, you're going to hear me act on, and I also will hold people accountable or ask the team to hold people accountable if they're not. I'm going to give you one more example real quick. You can disagree, and you can disagree respectfully. And I think I used Larry. I'll call him Larry. His name really is Larry. But I'll use Larry as an example. Larry and I have known each other for 7 years. Larry's retiring. He will tell you, I don't always agree with the decisions you make, and he'll jump and go all the way to the president on this, but I like you and I respect you. And that means a lot because we disagreed, but we disagreed respectfully. And that's who I am, and that's what I'll do. And if we're not going to disagree respectfully, we're going to work through it. We're going to have conversations first, but if it's just not getting better, we want to address it because that means we're not a team. We're not doing this for the right reasons, and there's no room for that from my perspective.
Thank you. We can take a question from the floor.
My name is David Bradley, and I'm residential faculty in the Fine and Performing Arts Division. And I have a question. Given the current situation across the country where there are student protests on the war in Gaza, how would you approach the situation, the possibility of disruption of campus activities by student protests while balancing their rights to free speech?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a great question, and I really hope that none of us are in the situation that what we're seeing, because I'm gonna say, in my experiences in the last few years, I'm never gonna pass judgment on decision making that's made because I don't have the full story on what's really going on at that university or that college. I'm hearing what the media tells us. I will say this though, and I had this experience with the pro-Palestinian group from probably last fall, if I recall. We had a lot of faculty and staff that were concerned about why we allowed them to hold a rally. And so the best way to explain it from my perspective was to sit down and talk about free speech and what we do value everyone's perspective, but recognizing that it could really hurt some of our Jewish faculty, staff, and students. So it's a delicate balance. It's not easy, but I found that the more we talked about it and more we understood our policies and procedures and what we could and couldn't do, my job was simply to monitor it. If it becomes violent, that's very different. It's a very different situation. If it disrupts operations, our policies prevented us from allowing it. And so that's how I would handle it, is just being fair and respecting that free speech, and helping people understand the procedures and policies we're facing.
Dr. Barnes-Tilley, we thank you for your time today. And if you would like to leave us with any closing remarks, you're welcome to take up to 5 minutes to do so.
Thank you. Those are some great questions. I appreciate it. Really makes me think about some things and some situations that I hope we don't have to face. I think the last one was one that's really interesting that our colleges are facing. So I said at the beginning, and I'll state it again, I'm very proud of my background, for my years of teaching, administration, being a community college graduate, supporting students outside of the classroom. I'm proud of the administrative work that I've done, and I'd be really proud to bring that to Paradise Valley. But when I really started thinking about why I'm so proud, I started thinking about the relationships and the people. And I'm going to say their first names only for the sake of this, but this gets at the why I do it. The experience I have is one thing, but why I do it is another. And I think about students like Teddy and Angela and Blair and Aaron, who is finally graduating this semester, bless his sweet heart. And that's not a negative thing that we say sometimes in Texas. It doesn't mean it's bad. This time it means it's really good. But it's students like him. I think about the faculty that I have wonderful relationships with, Millie and Pam. Millie gives the best hugs. Millie and Pam and Rachel and Jimmy, and I love that. And I love the leadership and the relationships I've had. And I think about Meredith right now is going on to a new role. One of the first part-time faculty I hired at Blinn College is now a vice president at a community college. And one of my former students just interviewed me for a leadership podcast. How weird is that? I was like, okay, this is great. And if this isn't strange, one of my former students was my doctor. Now that's a whole nother level of interesting. But when I think about all of those things, that's the why. It's getting to build a relationship, watch people grow, watch people serve students, watch people do great things. And again, I said this at the beginning, I don't want to do anything else for the rest of my life. I want to do this because I can get up in the morning and I'm excited. I'm really excited to be here. And I can go sleep at night, maybe frustrated about some things that are going on, but I feel satisfied. And so I'm very proud of the 29 years. I'd be very proud to serve Paradise Valley. But this is what you're going to get. You're going to get me. You're going to get the Texas accent too. I don't know if that's a great thing, but I'll try to bring it down a notch in Arizona. But I really do love this, and I would be proud to serve as the next president of Paradise Valley. So thank you for your time today. I appreciate it very much.
This now concludes this public forum, and we invite you to take time to complete your feedback form located at www.maricopa.edu/PVCC-search. All feedback is due by Tuesday, May 7th at 5 p.m. That's www.maricopa.edu/PVCC-search, SEARCH. Thank you very much, everyone.